अस्सलाम वालेकुम। प्रोग्राम एम्बेसी रोड में खुश आमदीद। नाज़रीन, आज हमारे इस प्रोग्राम में पाकिस्तान में हंगरी के सफ़ीर जनाब इश्तबान ज़ावू हमारे मेहमान हैं। उनसे हम बात करेंगे पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के ताल्लुकात के हवाले से। दो तरफ़ा ताल्लुकात पर पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के सफ़ारती ताल्लुकात बहुत पुराने हैं। 1965 में हमारे सफ़ारती ताल्लुकात कायम हुए और पाकिस्तान में हंगरी की एम्बेसी या सफारत खाना 1970 से काम कर रहा है। इस एतबार से देखें तो दोनों ममालिक के दरमियान सफारती ताल्लुकात की एक बड़ी तारीख़ है। हम एम्बेसडर साहब से ये पूछेंगे कि पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के ताल्लुकात जो है मुस्तकबिल में कैसे बेहतर हो सकते हैं। एम्बेसडर, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस इन दिस प्रोग्राम।
Thank you very much and good evening to the TV viewers of the program.
Ambassador, Pakistan and Hungary established their diplomatic relations back in 1965, and the Hungarian embassy in Islamabad has been there since 1970. There's a long history of diplomatic relations between Pakistan and Hungary. All these years, have the two countries become closer to each other? What is your take?
Let me start by mentioning that we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of our diplomatic relations with Pakistan this year, and this is a significant anniversary which we would like to celebrate with a kind of presentation of Hungary series of events, and we are organizing an anniversary reception at the end of October this year, and we would like to show for the Pakistani audience the Hungarian food and Hungarian cuisine, and therefore we invite Hungarian chefs here, and according to our plans for 1 week we could offer Hungarian specialties, food for the Pakistani audience. Meanwhile, we are also working on another project, which is an exhibition, which would give you a reflection of the history of the past 50 years of diplomatic relations, the visiting politicians to each other's countries, some important documents which we could find in the archives. We are planning to show this exhibition on the sidelines of the reception, and
relating to the diplomatic relations.
To the diplomatic relations and all kinds of bilateral relations, because we can go back in history, and in the 19th century we had some Hungarian Orientalists who discovered at that time the Indian continent, and they stayed here for a while. One of them is a famous Orientalist and educationalist for whom we recently inaugurated a memorial plaque at the GCU in Lahore, because he was the founding principal of that institution, and he worked here for the education of the Punjab. He was here 24 years. His name is Wilhelm Gottlieb Leitner. He is very much respected here. He was in British service, of course, and we had some other Orientalists like Aurel Stein, who worked in Lahore, or Sándor Körösi Csoma, who came to the Peshawar University. So we have some cultural links.
So there's a history of relationship between the two countries.
There is.
Ambassador, diplomatically and politically we have strong relations, but how could we translate this relationship into strong economic and commercial ties?
Yes, that's the substance. That's the essential part of our bilateral relations. The Hungarian government's policy is frequently mentioned in the press. We call it Eastern Opening policy, which practically means that we are revitalizing those relations, those ties, which we neglected in the 90s when Hungary was focusing on the Euro-Atlantic integration process. Before the political changes in Hungary and in Central Eastern Europe, before the collapse of the communism system, yes, we already had these relations with a lot of countries of the so-called Third World. And we had an extensive scholarship program at that time. So we are not inventing the wheel now. But we would like to further develop these relations, and that is the reason why we declared a scholarship program for Pakistan. We announced 80 scholarships for Pakistan for higher education. The MOU will be signed very soon, and the whole program can start. And the other main focus is, of course, the economic cooperation. And from this point of view, for Hungary, Pakistan is extremely important. We are investors here, and the backbone of our bilateral relations is the investment of the MOL company, which is an oil and gas company in Hungary, the largest Hungarian company. And this company has been operating here in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, KPK, for about 16 years now. And I am glad to inform you that just recently, yesterday, they announced some new discoveries, very successful operation.
Gas or oil discoveries?
Oil and gas.
Both.
And condensatum. So we are very proud of this company and the activities of this company. Company is also doing a lot of corporate activities, so providing a lot of assistance for not only for the employees but the local population, roads, schools, water supply. So the company is doing a lot, and very, very frequently.
So they are contributing towards the social and economic growth of the areas where they are operating.
That's right. And they do an excellent training for the young engineers who start working with the company. They take them to Hungary for training courses regularly. So this is a very important part of our bilateral economic cooperation. But besides that, I am not satisfied with the volume of our bilateral trade, which could
what is the volume of trade currently, sir?
Currently, it is about 36 million US dollars, the last year figure. But we recognized an increase in the foreign trade volume compared to the previous year, 2013. The 2014 figures reflect 16-18% growth. And I am optimistic concerning the future because there is a positive tendency which we can see in the number of the visas we are issuing, business visas first of all, but tourism is also an important element of these consular activities. So we see that a large number of Pakistani businessmen are now focusing on Central Eastern Europe because we have the comparative advantages compared to the Western European
which
countries.
The Pakistani businessmen should exploit to their advantage.
Yes, and recently, during the past year, some corporate groups traveled to Hungary. Some companies are offering as a bonus for their employees, and they discovered the beauties of Hungary. Tourism is our major industry. Let me just mention you one figure that last year we had 17 million tourists in Hungary, and the population of my country is only 10 million.
Oh, it's a huge influx of tourists from all over the world.
Yes,
mainly. So Hungary is very beautiful, there's no doubt.
Yes.
Ambassador, you mentioned scholarships for the Pakistani students for higher education in Hungary. Which disciplines or which areas Pakistani students go to study? Medicine, engineering, economy, which other disciplines?
There are no restrictions. The Higher Education Commission and the Hungarian competent ministry, which is responsible for higher education in Hungary, they will directly discuss all the details of the program. As far as I know, this is not restricted to certain areas. So there will be a kind of a menu in this program.
Ambassador, language is also important because I think Pakistanis do not know Hungarian language, so there's a barrier. How to bridge this gap of language, between the two countries?
For the students, it will be English language education, so there will be no problem because Hungarian language, nobody can expect someone to learn it very quickly.
Yes.
It is quite a difficult language. Yes.
Then, Ambassador, talking about the commercial ties, Pakistan, as you know very well, is an energy deficient country, and particularly the power sector in Pakistan is crippled. People are experiences this load shedding and all that. Is Hungary or the entrepreneur investors of Hungary ready to invest in Pakistan in the power sector?
Not yet so far. I would like to see Hungarian investors, but due to certain conditions, the business environment, due to some concerns about the security, concerning the very negative image of Pakistan, the companies are reluctant to take high risks in their investments coming here. But on the other hand, I also discovered that this picture about Pakistan is quite distorted. This is just one side of the coin. On the other hand, you can see here a lot of companies operating, a lot of foreign companies are doing business here in Pakistan. And my duty as an ambassador is to convince Hungarian business circles that you can make business here in Pakistan. You can find that areas where we can offer our value-added sectors, where we can really offer the Hungarian technology or agricultural knowledge or whatever. And in the energy sector as well, in the new and renewable energies, the wind, the solar energy. Hungary is well advanced in these
solar
areas.
And wind energy.
Exactly.
And you can help out in these sectors.
Yes, that's why, first of all, I think it's an achievement that we are participating at the Karachi Expo this year. And that's the best way if there are direct contacts, direct experiences, if Hungarian businessmen have knowledge about the country, how does it look like, and what is the environment here, that would be very, very helpful. On the other hand, I am doing some efforts to convince the Hungarian business circles that the potential is here. And with some encouragement, I hope that it will start. It will start. So I'm optimistic in this.
Exactly. But the other area of commercial ties is the exportable items from Pakistan to Hungary, and then the importable items from Hungary to Pakistan, the two-way commercial relationship. So what are the prospects of importing more from Hungary and exporting more to Hungary? The areas that you may have in your mind or you might have identified during your stay here in Pakistan?
Well, as you know, the preferential treatment offered by the European Union for Pakistan, GSP Plus, has already helped a lot for the Pakistani export. Pakistani goods can reach the European market practically, I think, 90% without any charges, any customs, any barriers. So we feel this kind of increase in the Pakistani exports. On the other hand, we have to work hard to identify those areas where the Hungarian and Pakistani businessmen can make their direct contacts and they can do their businesses. And the embassy is doing some exploratory work in this field, and also we are bringing together the partners, because this very small amount of trade between the two countries can easily
could be increased. Yes.
On the other hand, you have to clearly see that the multinational companies, if they make a decision, that might affect your trade immediately. We used to export to Pakistan in the past years the Nokia telephones, but we had a Nokia factory in Hungary. So Nokia is, everybody knows, it's not a Hungarian product. But the Nokia factory was in Hungary, and since the factory was transferred to another country, the volume of trade has gone down. And this is like that. So one should not draw very significant conclusions on these tendencies, because one company's decision can change the whole tendency.
Ambassador, we take a short break and then we will continue this discussion. नाज़रीन, एक मुख्तसर ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक से वापसी के बाद हम पाकिस्तान में हंगरी के सफ़ीर से मज़ीद बातचीत करेंगे कि पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के जो बाहमी ताल्लुकात हैं, दो तरफ़ा ताल्लुकात, उनको किस तरह मुस्तहकम बनाया जा सकता है. वेलकम बैक. हम बात कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान में हंगरी के सफ़ीर से. वो हमें बता रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के कमर्शियल या तजारती ताल्लुकात जो हैं उनमें किस तरह इजाफा मुमकिन है. द अदर एस्पेक्ट इज़ दैट पाकिस्तान कैन ऑल्सो बेनिफिट in the engineering sector from Hungary, because Hungary is advanced in engineering sector. Pakistan needs to develop its engineering sector. So how could Hungary help Pakistan do that?
Well, as I told you, the direct contacts between the companies, between the businessmen are the most helpful. And we are in the phase when we try to establish these direct contacts. Of course, there are already functioning trade connections, and this volume of trade we are having, one part of it is machinery from Hungary. And in our export, in our import,
construction machinery or
different kinds of machinery, IT goods, certain stationary products. But you know, sometimes we don't really get reliable statistics on these figures. So that's why we are moving in a gray zone sometimes, because not reliable figures are available. When I checked with the Board of Investment here, they had completely different figures concerning our bilateral trade than we have in Hungary by our Central Statistical Office. So, but as I told you, we are working hard, and we have here 2 honorary consuls as well, one in Karachi and one in Lahore. Their main duty is to improve the business relations. They have the contacts in Hungary. They are helping the businessmen. They are advertising Hungarian products here. And this is what we are doing in our daily activities. So when we bring here a cultural group, for example, as we did it recently at the beginning of April, we not only present a performance here in Islamabad, but we took them to Lahore,
as well,
took
yes.
them to Karachi, we organized the business forum in Karachi, and we informed the Pakistani business community about Hungary, because there is a lack of information. We do not know well each other, and first you have to overcome this barrier. And to build trust and confidence. That's
how to improve the people-to-people contact between the two countries. Is a program being chalked out, or already something is being done?
Well, on your side, a lot of people would like to travel to Hungary, so there is no doubt about it. From Hungary, I would not say the same tendency, and you know very well, due to these well-known
so many
facts,
reasons. Yes,
tourism is not a booming business
yes.
here in Pakistan, frankly speaking. But a lot of Pakistanis are interested in Hungary, traveling to the Schengen zone, traveling to Europe, and they are coming to our embassy and applying for visa. And many of them come back from Hungary with very positive experiences.
Earlier, Ambassador, you mentioned agriculture sector as well.
Yes.
Pakistan is an agrarian country, agrarian economy. How can Hungary help Pakistan boost its agriculture production, agrarian economy, how to improve it, and how could Hungary help it?
Right now, we are working on a project, and we identified the major food importers here in Pakistan, And we would like to present them the Hungarian agriculture. We have some materials, and we show them what Hungarian agriculture is capable for. And through these links, we identify the main areas. So food processing is one of these areas where we could cooperate, and for example, in the dairy sector. Pakistan is a milk producer country, a significant country, I think the 5th or 6th in the world.
Largest, yes.
And very high quality milk, the buffalo milk is produced here. But there is no processing industry. That's completely lacking. And we were surprised to see that you import cheese, for example, from abroad. Later on, discussing with people, I understood that there is no culture for
taking cheese. Yes.
Cheese.
Yeah, it's not a part of our food.
But it's also coming up, and there is a certain
there's a demand for it.
Demand.
Yes.
There is a demand for it, and I think things are not forever the same. Everything is changing, and in this field, I see some potentials. And Hungary traditionally was an agricultural country. Of course, today the main part of the GDP is produced by the industry, and
especially the IT industry.
IT industry, car manufacturing, which are the driving forces of our GDP. Here in Pakistan, it's a different situation. More than 20% of the GDP is realized through the agricultural production.
Almost 26%.
26%. And I see a lot of potentials in this field as well. So we are working on it. I can't give you any concrete results because a lot of things are now still under consideration, and we are trying to identify the partners. We are trying to facilitate and help them. So that's a relatively small embassy, and our staff is completely focusing on these issues.
You're taking big initiatives, Ambassador, to improve the trade relations between the two countries. Defense is another area where there's a possibility that Hungary and Pakistan can join hands, can cooperate. What are the prospects?
In the field of defense, there might be some prospects. We have here a defense attaché, and his office has been here for many years now. And in this field, we heard some inquiries, we heard some proposals which are under consideration. We are in contact with your defense authorities in this regard. But you have to see clearly that after the political changes and in Central Eastern Europe, the former Hungarian defense industry practically ceased to exist. And those branches which we are having today, which can be competitive in this market, it's very much limited. And as far as I see, Pakistan can purchase all these products from different countries, and this has been working on quite well. So for Hungary as a small country, this field is somehow not yet discovered. It is practically at a very early stage.
You mentioned the Hungarian company, oil and gas company, working here for quite some time. Can some other companies also come to Pakistan to explore oil and gas in this country, or you think that one is enough?
This is our main, the largest company in this sector. This company has a background of 74, 75 years. They have a great experience, and they have the expertise, the professional assets, the knowledge, and they know Pakistan
very well.
They have been here operating. So I don't think that other companies, smaller ones, would come here. This company is doing very well job here, and second largest gas producers in the country, and I think now they are the first oil producers in the country. It's a consortium, by the way. It's a consortium of five
various
companies, and the Hungarian company is the lead company in this consortium. So it's more Pakistan than
right. And about the other areas, the energy sector you mentioned, that power and wind.
Yes.
That these could be two sources to generate energy. So will it be competitive for the Pakistanis to ask the Hungarian investors to come and invest in the energy sector, in the solar, to produce solar energy or to wind energy?
It's already under discussion. The contacts are there. The people are meeting. Pakistani businessmen visited Hungary, and they will visit Hungary. So everything is moving, and I am sure that some kind of businesses will be made in this field.
The image problem that you earlier mentioned, that Pakistan's image is not very positive or not very encouraging for the Hungarian investors, or for that matter for the Western investors in Pakistan. Is it because of the negative propaganda that is going on in the Western press, or you have been here in Pakistan and you have experienced what kind of environment is there in this country? So what is the truth? Is it a distorted image, as you mentioned, or it's a real image that is being projected and portrayed in the Western press?
Well, my opinion is about this complex issue, that what is reflected in the media is, number one, is always the negative things. After some time, if you hear negative news coming out from the same place, you start to categorize that place, and you put this place into a negative shelf. The image of Pakistan is not good in the world, in the Western world, and that's based on these negative news, which are true. The problem is that if only negative news are coming, that's not the full picture. So the country is not only about terrorism, not only about extremism, not only about religious violence, militancy, sectarian violence. There are a lot of other things here which are functioning well. There are a lot of potentials of Pakistan which are not used. And there are a lot of opportunities for business people who come here to do successful businesses. There are niche areas where small countries can go in. So that's my opinion, that you should avoid to exaggerate. You should have to put things at the right place, and you have to see clearly. Since we have been here with my wife for 3 years, we see it much better. And even I can tell you that after the first 3-4 months, I could see it much better. This is a significant problem for the country. This is discouraging the foreign investors. You have to see it clearly. So the Pakistani government, the Pakistani army is doing a lot to eliminate
the threat of terrorism.
Yes, that's right. And this is the right way to address this issue. But this is a complex issue, and this requires much more than that. This requires a better education. This requires job opportunities for people, development of neglected remote areas, and the real education of the mindset of the people. That would be very helpful in this.
Master, some experts or some analysts believe that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism, and it's because of Afghanistan. In the decade of 70s, the Soviet troops moved into Afghanistan. And then the Western world, the US and the entire Western world, the Islamic world, asked Pakistan to be a frontline state in the war against the Soviet troops and to expel them from Afghanistan, which they called the War of Liberation of Afghanistan. So we were used as a frontline state, and this terrorism or extremism or jihad came with that. Do you agree to this?
Conspiracy theories are well known, and we hear it frequently. So we used to discuss among ourselves as diplomats about these theories. I would not narrow this issue to these conspiracy theories. This is a deep-rooted issue, and extremism, violence in this region. If you just go back in history and you witness the history of this region, witness the history of Afghanistan, if you go back to the 19th century, you will see that there has been always violence presence in this part of the world, like other parts of the world. So I don't see any special feature of this region, why this region is more violent than other regions, so the issue is deeper, and you have to go further back in history than the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, which was a typical Cold War scenario. And conspiracy theories, frankly speaking, I do not like. I do not like because conspiracy theories are coming up when politicians would like to get rid of the responsibility of their performance and responsibility.
Shifting the blame to these elements.
That's the easiest way to put the burden of responsibility on other shoulders. So my opinion is that you have to be very careful with these kind of theories. And as I mentioned, this is a complex issue, and the causes and the roots of extremism are extremely complex, based in the field of education, the lack of basic services, the living standards, the job opportunities, all these things. So everything
they contribute to it.
Yes, and certainly as a consequence, the solution is not coming within 1 year or 2 years. The solution will come throughout many years with hard work.
Ambassador will take a short break and then we'll come back. नाज़रीन एक मुख्तसर ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक से वापसी के बाद हम पाकिस्तान में हंगरी के सफ़ीर से मज़ीद बातचीत करेंगे पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के ताल्लुकात को बेहतर बनाने के लिए और जो दूसरे बैनुल-अक़वामी मामलात हैं उन पे. वेलकम बैक. हम बात कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान में हंगरी के सफ़ीर से. एम्बेसडर, देयर इज़ another conspiracy theory that the Western world and the Islamic world they are not on good terms with each other. I mean, there is a misunderstanding between the Islamic world and the Western world, and a book was written, The Clash of Civilizations. So that also fueled this thinking that there is a big gap between the Islamic world and the Western world, culturally, historically, and otherwise. Do you believe this?
As a Hungarian, I just would like to mention to you that when we felt a kind of a clash of civilization was the time in the medieval ages when the Ottoman Empire conquered the territory of Hungary. That was quite a pure clash of civilization. We were somehow protecting ourselves, and via this fight we were protecting the Christian world. And the Ottoman Empire was spreading the Islamic religion, and they also wanted to grow in territory and conquer as much territory in Europe as they could. So that was more or less a kind of a clash of civilizations. In today's world, I think this idea to antagonize Islam and the Western world, religions, Christian religion, Islam religion, this is not the right way to address these issues and these problems. We are completely different. We are living in different countries. We have different historical background. We have different cultural background. But on the other hand, a lot of things are common. A lot of things connect us. In today's globalized world,
global village,
where multinational companies are dictating the rules of the commercial relations and the business, it would be very, very bad to simplify this issue. This is much more complex than that. So I don't believe in such theories.
Some Western countries, not Hungary, but other countries, they are being accused of promoting Islamophobia. I mean, sometime back in some countries of the Western Europe, they stopped the construction of mosques and things like that. So that also contributed towards, towards creating a gap of understanding, and efforts were being made, and probably they are still being made, that there should be a religious harmony, there should be a peace at the global level and the regional level. You think that these efforts can bear fruit?
In the Western world, in the so-called democratic Western countries, the freedom of expression is a very important pillar of democracy. There are other very important elements of a democratic society, democratically functioning society. On the other hand, you have to see clearly that these countries are secular countries, where the religion is a private matter. And it's absolutely up to the individual, the person, whether he would like to
go to church,
yeah, exercise his religion, practices, whatever. And this is the general mentality of people in Europe, I think in US, that it's your private business, and until I am influenced by someone in religious issues, I can live peacefully with all other people. And I think this is the general mentality. I'm sure that people's behavior is like that. So when someone feels threatened, this kind of way of living, I think then different reactions arise. And certain extremist parties in Europe, because it's a multi-party system, there are different parties on the spectrum. Some parties are having some extreme ideas. Their influence in the society is changing depending on the political situation in that country. And some politicians are using it also as using religion for political purposes, which I cannot accept anyway. And that might create some kind of feeling that there is a negative feeling towards Islam or whatsoever. But I cannot accept it, I cannot sign it as a general view or as a general tendency. For many years in Europe, a lot of huge Muslim population is living, and generations of the different migrants have been living and working in Germany, in France.
They are a substantial part of the Western society.
And there is a peaceful coexistence, and I don't think that this should be preserved. And politicians have a responsibility to maintain this peaceful harmony among people.
Ambassador, recently you organized a music festival here. I was also present at the Islamabad Music Festival. Subsequently, you went to Lahore and Karachi. So as a diplomat, as an ambassador, you want to use music, culture, and other tools to promote understanding, better understanding between the people of Pakistan and the people of Hungary?
Culture is the best way to cross borders, to reach the hearts of people and the minds of people, and to bring countries closer to each other. I am sure and I'm convinced that the cultural events which we have organized during the past years, joint exhibition of young Pakistani and Hungarian artists, which was a very successful event here in Islamabad. Last year we brought here a folk dance and folk musician group from Hungary, and not only Islamabad, but they had performances in Faisalabad and in Lahore as well. That was a great success. This year we brought here the three ladies, the Princesses of Violin, famous trio, who performed here in Islamabad twice, then in Lahore, then in Karachi. After these performances, we witnessed an increase in interest towards Hungary, increase in the number of people who came to our embassy, inquired about information about the country, or an increase in the visa applications. And I think cultural diplomacy is a very, very important part of bringing countries closer to each other. I remember before I came here, the Pakistani embassy in Budapest organized a Sufi musical concert event, and it was a full house success, and the Hungarian audience was talking about it even after 1 year. And I am sure that these things
the music can play a very significant role.
Music, culture can bring a lot into this basket and can help a lot. Thank you.
Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us in this show. नाज़रीन, आपने पाकिस्तान में हंगरी के सफ़ीर की गुफ्तगू सुनी. उन्होंने पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के दो तरफ़ा ताल्लुकात पे बात की. उनका कहना है कि पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के दरमियान तजारती ताल्लुकात, कमर्शियल रिलेशनशिप को मजबूत करने के बहुत इम्कानात हैं. उनका कहना है कि हंगरी की एक कंपनी इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में तेल और गैस के शोबे में काम कर रही है. उसके अलावा और भी कई कंपनियां जो पाकिस्तान में आकर सरमायाकारी करना चाहती हैं. उनका ख्याल है कि पाकिस्तान और हंगरी के दरमियान लोगों में कुर्बत पैदा करने के लिए कल्चर को, सकाफ़त को भी इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है. इसी के साथ ये प्रोग्राम ख़त्म होता है. जावेद सिद्दीक़ को इजाज़त दीजिए. खुदा हाफिज़. Thank you, Ambassador. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Thank you.